Okay, I haven't had a lot of time for making videos, so I'm just going to make one video with various things that have been on my mind. So the first thing is the tsunami. Um, it did do a number on Kona. The surge was, yeah, I don't know. I was there the day after for this brew fest, and the water had surged up over a seawall that when I was there was like, I don't know, at least 10 feet above the water line. So, and it tore stuff up over there. The hotel I was in was still cleaning out seawater. The first floor was all swamped entirely, all the way into the middle of this multi-story, 6-story hotel. The problem now is this nuclear stuff. I noticed the last couple days there hasn't been a lot of news. You look on the internet, you type it in, I know people talk about it, but actually just trying to get some news. Some of the best stuff was like YouTube people that went to the weather side, or one guy, I forget the link, sorry. There's a radiation network that has people, you can hook up your own Geiger counter all across the US and you can monitor this kind of stuff. And there was some of the thought process. Other than that, we were getting very little in terms of what's going on. It was still from a YouTuber making a video that guided me to the NOAA, I guess, jet stream forecast, which tells us where any fallout would go besides Japan, or if it would go back on Japan. I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, and he's all, this is just what those anti-nuclear activists want. I bet they're surprised to hear that. They're like, don't build nuclear plants because we don't want that. And then Rush is going to tell them that's what they want. Yeah, everybody that tells you some stupid boneheaded thing turns out to go wrong, just like they said, that's what they want. No, I mean, it's called somebody being right. Now, I happen to be kind of pro-nuclear energy at the moment, or was, and I still am, but this might be a case to show how it turns out, though. But compared to what's going on with oil, if we just got careful, and you have to be careful with nuclear energy, that might be a good bridge energy to get to all the renewable ones as we develop them. But really the problem is you need a reactor that can shut itself down. I believe they can make these domes and containment centers that can stand huge tsunami. But that little contained unit has to be able to shut down without human intervention. That without human care, that's what you can't guarantee ever in a natural disaster, is that the humans will be able to do something about it. It has to be able to shut down on its own in a nearly flawless way. And of course you have to take into account it might not shut down properly. Where you build it and stuff like that might be affected. But maybe it just can't be done safely. I mean, but this is obviously a terrible tragedy. When they were saying the first day, 500 dead, you could tell from those videos it was going to be, I think it's going to be tens and tens of thousands is my prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if it reaches 100,000. So that's very sad. And that's the tsunami news. People have started talking about it now, but yeah, for a while it's like stunned silence. Just let them look into it. It's like, we'll talk about everything. Kobe Bryant got a new pair of shoes, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, let's just all be quiet and wait to see what happens. Nobody wants to jinx it or anything. But it looks pretty bad. On the other hand, my understanding is the thing could be melted down more. So that's really the main thing that I've been paying attention to, trying to get news on that. YouTube-wise, I was also thinking more about This Life, and Derived Energy made another reply to me. And, I don't know what to say, but, sometimes you have to look at things in detail, sometimes you don't. It's like we found out that Newton's mechanics is not exactly right, but it's good enough to get to the moon. But then again, it's not good enough to make a GPS satellite, so we take relativity into account there. It's kind of like that with noticing that we don't create life. For a parent, it's just as well to think you've created life. Take a lot of responsibility for this thing that you have done and this person that you have created. And that all works fine at that level. But when we're starting to talk about antinatalism, like, instead of a motivation for doing good for your child, it's like the reason you shouldn't have them, you should feel guilty that you had them, maybe even. Well, we're going to look a little bit closer. That's where this the detail starts to come into play. And the fact of the matter is, when two people decide to conceive, let's just assume they're trying to conceive. It gets more complicated when they aren't, but they just want to have sex. But let's say they're trying to conceive. At that moment in time, they're making a decision about their tissue and whether it will continue to live. Right? They are giving it a chance to have another chance to live with a whole different individual that'll try to feed it and everything. But at that moment, it is part of you. It's like making a decision that you will eat something nutritious yourself so that your cells in your body may continue to live. You're making a decision about tissue in your body continuing to live. So it's a personal decision at that point. At some point, the consciousness in that thing starts up. Well, now that's different. Now, is it entirely a new consciousness? I don't know. Is it a new river every day because the water is different? When you're discussing identity and situations that involve flow and continuity, you always find there's these discrete events, and you could say, oh, past that discrete event, it's different. But then your identity now and 3 years from now wouldn't be the same either, or even 3 seconds from now. So you have to decide a sensible way to make the definitions, and you have to be consistent. Okay? So on one level, you can treat it as just a new thing because it's this new consciousness. We recognize what that is. But in terms of antinatalism, a whole issue about whether the species should choose to continue or not, it's a different situation because there is a flow. There is a continuity of the consciousness, and it is analogous to the continuity of the life. And thus, though it may seem paradoxical to us, in the language of flowing, the things that are continuous and rolling on, but with discrete events contributing, and the continuity coming from the conservation of energy, in situations like that, we have to notice, oh, hey, you're already alive. You're making a personal decision about your own living tissue at that point that you're making, the natal decision. All right, cheers.